this is Lady Boulay, and welcome back to Black American Lineage. Hello, this is Lady Boulay, and welcome back to Black American Lineage. Thank you for your support. Thank you for going on the journey through our past and present. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. Today, I'm going to introduce you, or maybe present to you, Biddy Mason, an outstanding woman who went from slavery to a Los Angeles real estate mogul. And unlike many black people who amass wealth, this lady was able to pass wealth down to the next generation and the next generation, and her descendants are still alive today, living off of her legacy. Biddy Mason was born into slavery, reportedly on August 15th, 1818, in Hancock County, Georgia. During her enslaved years, she was obligated to learn domestic and agricultural skills. Additionally, she developed skills in herbal medicine and midwifery taught to her by other enslaved women. Her knowledge benefited both enslaved people and Southern enslavers. Documentation has never been found of her sale or sales, but at some point, Biddy was sold into Mississippi and became the property of Robert May Smith and Rebecca Dorn Smith. Biddy was valuable to the Smiths because of her knowledge of medicine, child care, and livestock care. So you could say this woman was a jack of all trades. And as it was in slavery, the enslaved people had to do all of the work. So you can bet that she was utilized from sunup to sundown doing some kind of work on that plantation. Biddy had three children: Ellen, born in about 1838, Anne, born in about 1844, and Harriet, born in about 1847. So these were girls. She had all girls. The fathers of her children are unknown, but some authors have speculated that Robert M. Smith, her slave owner, likely fathered at least one of her children, probably all of them. So here is the historical information about Biddy Mason.
What if I told you that one of the richest women in 19th century Los Angeles was born into slavery? Her name was Bridget Biddy Mason, and her journey from bondage to becoming a real estate mogul and philanthropist is the kind of story that rewrites history. Born in 1818 in Mississippi, Biddy was enslaved from birth. Her owner, Robert Smith, was a Mormon who moved west to Utah in the 1840s, taking Biddy and other enslaved people with him. When Smith later relocated to California, he made a critical mistake. California was a free state. But Smith didn't care. He planned to take Biddy and her children to Texas, where slavery was still legal. What he didn't expect was Biddy's quiet resistance. While in Los Angeles, Biddy confided in free black citizens and abolitionists. With their help, she filed a petition for her freedom in 1856, an act so dangerous it could have cost her everything. At the court hearing, she made her plea. "I have always been kept in slavery. I am entitled to my freedom and that of my children." The judge ruled in her favor. Biddy Mason became a free woman at age 38, along with her daughters. She didn't stop there. Biddy worked as a nurse and midwife, saving every dollar. Eventually, she bought land in downtown Los Angeles, the very heart of the city. That land made her one of the first black female landowners in California, and it skyrocketed her into wealth. But what makes Biddy a legend isn't just her money, it's what she did with it. She gave to the poor, visited prisoners, opened a school and daycare for black children, and helped establish the first African Methodist Episcopal Church in LA, a cornerstone of black life in the city to this day. When she died in 1891, her estate was worth over $300,000, millions today.
They always underestimated the enslaved people's desire to be free. They really thought that those people were happy enslaved, which is really dumb. But Biddy Mason's case is not unlike Dred Scott's. She was born in slavery. The slave master moved around from state to state till he ended up in a free state, in the free state of California. So in California, being around other free blacks and abolitionists, they told her, "You're living in a free state, so you can petition the state for your freedom." And she went to court and petitioned the court for her freedom, and they granted her her freedom, unlike Dred Scott. So she was smart and she was able to gain her freedom. So congratulations to Biddy Mason. Now, after gaining her freedom, she went to work. All of those skills that she had learned in slavery, she applied those skills in freedom and worked and saved her money and was eventually able to buy land in Los Angeles, California. And she was also a founding member of the First African Methodist Episcopal Church. So this woman was busy. She was a businesswoman, she was a mother, and she was a church lady. And that's not the end of her story.
We know the story of Biddy Mason, the black woman who walked from Mississippi to California in chains, only to become one of the first black female landowners in Los Angeles. But what happened after she passed? What happened to her land, her wealth, and her legacy? This is the story you were never told. In 1866, just a few years after gaining her freedom, Biddy Mason bought land on Spring Street in downtown LA for just $250. That land would later become some of the most valuable real estate in the entire city. But Biddy wasn't just buying land. She was planting roots. And by the time she passed in 1891, she had amassed an estate worth $300,000. That's around $10 million today. Now here's where it gets messy. After her death, a bitter family feud broke out over her estate. Who would control the land, the money, the Mason block? Eventually, her grandson, Robert Curry Owens, took control. He was already a sharp businessman, and thanks to Biddy's investments, he became the wealthiest black man in Los Angeles. Robert used that inheritance to build the Owens block, a two-story commercial building that became a hub for black entrepreneurship in the early 1900s. For a time, Biddy Mason's legacy lived on through business, land, and power, right in the heart of Los Angeles. But then came the Great Depression. Like many black families during that time, the Owens family lost control of their property. Biddy's once thriving real estate empire was slowly sold off or redeveloped. And by the mid-20th century, very few people knew that a formerly enslaved woman had once owned that land. Biddy Mason died in 1891 and was buried in an unmarked grave. It wasn't until 1988 that a headstone was finally placed to honor her. Today, part of her land has been transformed into Biddy Mason Memorial Park, right in downtown Los Angeles. It features an 80-foot wall carved with the timeline of her life, from slavery to land ownership to legacy. And her family? They've started foundations and organizations to keep her story alive. Biddy Mason's land may have changed hands, her buildings may be gone, but her impact still standing. She proved that even when the system tried to break her, she built something that couldn't be erased. Now you know what happened after Biddy Mason died.
Well, she was able to pass down wealth, but is often the case with black people. Somehow it gets away. But her legacy lives on, and these are her great 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 granddaughters, and they are carrying on her legacy in Los Angeles in a foundation that they have established in her honor. And that's not all. The city of Los Angeles also acknowledges her contributions.
One of the most important historic parks in Los Angeles is hidden in plain sight and sits on the former property of one of LA's most important and influential women that you've probably never heard of. Standing on Broadway across the street from Grand Central Market, turn left and head down the pathway past Macaroni Republic until you reach a dead end, then turn left. You've now arrived at Biddy Mason Memorial Park. This hidden sanctuary not only celebrates the remarkable journey of one of LA's most influential women, but also serves as a vibrant reminder of the power of resilience and the impact of leaving a lasting legacy. Bridget Biddy Mason's early years are incomplete. She was born into slavery either August 15, 1818 or 1824, in most likely Hancock County, Georgia. She would have been separated from her parents and sold multiple times before landing in the household of Robert Mays Smith around 1836, when she was roughly 18. It is possible she was given as a wedding present. They would move to Mississippi around 1841 and stay there until the Smiths became Mormons and decided to head west in the Great LDS Exodus of 1847.
Biddy would have had 3 daughters at this point, and despite the Mormon faith disapproving of slavery, Smith had no intention of freeing Biddy or her children, and instead forced them to walk 900 miles from Illinois to Salt Lake City. She would have done that while they sat in their wagons, and she carried baby Harriet on her back. They would arrive in Salt Lake City in October of 1848, and Smith would continuously go against Brigham Young's advice to free his slaves. They would make their way to San Bernardino, California in 1851, and since California had entered the Union in 1850, and a state law specified that any enslaved individuals who entered the state were automatically freed, meant Biddy, her children, and Smith's other slaves were technically free, but he didn't tell them that and kept them enslaved illegally. Smith decided he wanted to move to Texas in 1855, and although unclear as to who filed for Biddy on behalf of herself, her children, and Smith's other slaves, as black people could not file or testify in court due to the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, which made things very complicated, someone did help them file and take Smith to court. Biddy and her family were taken to the county jail for protection, and during the trial, Smith claimed they were his family and wanted to leave with him. Some people think it was possible he was the father of her 2 younger daughters, but it wasn't proven. Thankfully, the court ruled in their favor, claiming there was no way they could have freely chosen what they wanted, as they were not free. Biddy would move to Los Angeles, and it is here she would become one of the richest women in the country. She would become a prolific nurse and midwife, working for Dr. John Strother Griffin, and got paid $250 a day, which was quite a lot at the time. She would learn Spanish and serve both the Mexican, Black, and Anglo communities. She was so popular, it said that she even dined with Pio Pico. She would buy her first house and parcel of land in 1866, the very location of the park now dedicated to her. Despite never being taught to read or write, she would grow a real estate empire. She would sell land to other people in her community. An incredible act as redlining in Los Angeles was notorious. Beyond becoming an incredible businesswoman, amassing a fortune of over $300,000, roughly $6 million in today's money, she was deeply philanthropic. She took care of orphans, the sick, the homeless. She donated money to start an elementary school for black children, and in 1872, she was a founding member of the First African Methodist Episcopal Church of Los Angeles. Her resilience, bravery, keen business mind, and kindness made early Los Angeles a better place. She's without doubt one of the most important pioneers of the city, who, unlike so many of her peers, did not discriminate against who she helped. She deserves far more than just this park, and it is a shame how few know about her. So I encourage you to visit this little hidden sanctuary on the former home of this incredible woman and to share her story so we can honor her legacy and keep her spirit alive for generations to come.
Okay, that's the life and legacy of Biddy Mason, an outstanding Los Angeles woman. The more we dig, the more we learn as we continue to journey through our past and present. We learn what unique and extraordinary people that we are, coming out of slavery, but learning so many skills in slavery that once she was freed, she was able to use those skills to support her family, and not only support her family, but help the community. And they make a point of saying she was no respecter of persons. She helped the people who needed help. So, a life well lived and a job well done. Rest in peace, Biddy Mason. Thank you for listening. Have a good evening.